The terrorist is a highly motivated individual and is dedicated to the cause of liberation for the nationalist population. He is a master at remaining anonymous and will only appear as a terrorist when he wants to. The terrorist will study the target.
This is an account of what has happened to a handful of soldiers in the British Army during 20 years of service in Northern Ireland.
Or in the case of a soft
They all belong to one regiment, the Royal Green Jackets.
Most importantly, he will check his escape route.
Last November, at their headquarters in England, the 2nd Battalion began preparations for the regiment's 28th tour.
He will abort the mission.
Training began in January this year at a secret location in eastern England.
Come across the road, now!
The regiment first went to Northern Ireland in 1969 and has done more tours there than almost any other regiment in the British Army. These soldiers, in full battle dress, charging towards the sound of real gunfire, are not training to fight the Russians, but an enemy on British soil. Every soldier now knows that he's an IRA target, whether he's in Northern Ireland or not. That's why, with one exception, we are not naming any soldiers in this film, and we've completely concealed the identity of one.
We were on block leave, and it was on the telly. There was a big riot going on in Belfast, I think it was, or Derry, somewhere like that. And my father-in-law turned around to me and said, "You'll be going there soon." I said, "No, no way. There's no way that they're going to send the army there."
Belfast and Londonderry were in flames as the police struggled to contain an explosion of violence to which there seemed no end. They were utterly exhausted.
I was about to start a holiday when I had a telephone call which didn't say much more than "get back here now."
Jamie Daniel had just been commissioned as a second lieutenant and was commanding his first platoon. In August 1969, the last thing on earth he and his men expected was to be thrust into the anarchy of Northern Ireland.
At every level in the battalion, there was discussion as to what equipment we were going to need. Do we need to take heavy weapons and mortars and things with us? And, well, I'm not quite sure, we better find out. And so on. So there was some confusion over what our role was to be here.
There was no confusion in the minds of the beleaguered Catholics around Bombay Street as they saw their homes petrol-bombed by Protestant mobs. They needed protection, and fast. Catholics had no confidence in the police. To many, the mainly Protestant RUC seemed party to the onslaught that had driven them from their homes.
And I think on about the Saturday, we were off. We'd gone.
On the 15th of August 1969, the army marched into Belfast.
It wasn't regarded as a campaign or anything like that. It was a deployment to go out and sort out a local problem of factional rivalry that had got out of hand. And once the lid had been put back on that, and that the police could brush themselves down and get back to sorting it all out, then it wouldn't occur to us to ever be here again.
They loved us. We couldn't do no wrong. You know, we were there to sort of stop the trouble, or as they thought we were there to stop the trouble.
You couldn't move for cups of tea and buns and endless plates of sandwiches. It was frankly churlish not to accept them. You had to accept them because it was very nice and people were being extremely friendly.
You'd have baps and toast stuffed down your jumper and inside your flak jacket, and you'd be sloshing with tea.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Awash with hospitality from the Catholics around Bombay Street, the Green Jackets dug in along what became known as the Belfast Peace Line, the frontier between the Catholics of the Falls Road and the Protestants of the Shankill.
You'd get an awful lot of stories about how them over there were all about to come over and kill us, and you go, yes, fine, well, I'm sure we won't allow that to happen. And it was all very emotive, but easy to understand, because there was this glaring example of Bombay Street and the fact that there were a lot of empty houses. People had gone from the area in fear, so that those that remained were very aware of what was going on. They were very welcoming, and they encouraged us to be happy and as comfortable as we could be, and they would give us furniture for the base and, you know, old armchairs and make sure that the telly worked and all this sort of thing, and they were extremely helpful and welcoming. It was pretty obvious to us that they liked having us there.
No Brits go home?
Oh, no. Certainly not. No. Yes, please, Brits, come here.
20 years on, there's no welcome on the mat. Down there, no tea and buns from the Catholics. The 600 Green Jackets who were airlifted into County Fermanagh last February knew exactly what to expect on the ground. An unfriendly Catholic population and an IRA that was waiting to kill them. 20 years ago, the IRA barely existed. Today, it's a sophisticated and deadly enemy that forces the army to arrive by air as its landmines have made the roads along the border too dangerous. Within minutes, the last rifleman is on the ground, the family safely installed.
In front of you, you've got the basic kit you need for the moment. There's a flak jacket and 2 plates. There's 75 rounds of ammunition. If you count in front of you, there's 3 boxes, 150. So obviously you split one between 2 of you. You've also got your mess tray, yeah, which is not on the 1033. What I want you to do now, pick up the 1033, check what's on it, you sign one and then pass it to the guy on your left and get him to sign it. Hi, Monty.
These are the young men of what's known as the mortar platoon. Most of them are still in their teens. Home for the next 4 months will be a porter cabin in a concrete bunker where the sun never shines. It's a protection against IRA rocket attack. Here, it's nighttime, 24 hours a day.
Okay. Barty's brick on you. Stretch in here. We'll get you a mattress. Oh, you got a mattress.
I didn't think it'd be this good, actually. I thought it'd be a wet ditch.
What's in here, mate? Don't think the furniture is valuable stuff. Barty's team, yeah? If you notice, we put them in teams, there's spare beds. You guys are going to have to jump on spare beds. If there's no mattress, we'll get you a mattress in 5-10 minutes. Roger? It's all good shit, boys. All good shit.
This is the first taste of Northern Ireland for most of the men. But the mortar platoon's colour sergeant is a veteran of 5 tours.
10, 12 days, maybe a fortnight, and then you'll be moving somewhere else. So don't get too settled, and when you go, remember that everything that you need will have to go with you, and what you don't need will go with you.
Suddenly, girlfriends and wives seem a long way away.
Basics, washing and shaving kit, spare skiddies, and a selection of hard porn or something like that, all right?
What are your thoughts about this tour now that you're just starting on?
Oh, between you and me, I'm worried. All I want to do is these 4 months to go away as quick as possible and get back home.
Safe and sound?
Obviously. Just recently got married, and I've got my wife to worry about as well as myself at the moment, because she was upset as well as me. But 4 months is a long time to lose somebody.
Did you make any preparations with your wife before you left?
Oh, obviously, the normal wills, writing a will out for the first time I've ever written a will out. Insurance, make sure I'm insured, so she's covered. So she's going to be all right if something does happen to me.
Are you frightened?
Yes. This time.
Within hours, the routine begins of watching and waiting, and waiting and watching. This is Paul's first tour.
We're coming down on the chopper. Everyone was just looking long-faced and like looking at each other thinking, you know, are we all going to be here in 4 months' time? And I thought, is this going to be the last thing I do? And a bit worried. Just, You know, will I come back? Will my friends come back? You know, will we all be here in 4 months' time? It's, you know, just worried me stupid for a bit. But as soon as you get over it, it's all right.
What did you tell your girlfriend?
I wanted to feel that it's all safe here, and I've done it before, and it'd be okay. So I told her it's my second tour, so she wouldn't be worrying so much. So I thought if she thinks I'm just coming out here for my first time, she's going to worry even more.
For a young rifleman, the first patrol is always the worst. Months of training are now put into practice. Death can come suddenly in the fields along the border. A patrol can last for 4 hours or 4 days. For Paul and the mortar platoon, the first patrol is mercifully short.
Take it off, Michael, take it off right here.
Okay, quickly, what I want you to do, listen, drop all your kit now, take your jackets off, whip round to the cookhouse, get a mug of tea. I want you in the briefing room in 5 minutes with all your memories of today's exciting events. We'll get that cracked, hopefully in about 15 minutes, and you can shoot off and clean your weapons. All right? 5 minutes.
They did the right things. They kept the distance. I didn't have to chivvy them along. I didn't have to endlessly turn back and give directions. They were thinking all the time. And what was good was they were relaxed alert rather than nervous alert, which is something that you don't always get in the first patrol. And it was probably the best I've seen sprogs on a first patrol before, so I was very pleased.
As soon as we walked out the gates, there was a bit of sweat on, but about 10 minutes into patrol, it was all right, fine. I thought I'd be nervous the whole way, the whole patrol, but I wasn't at all. I was about 10 minutes and that was it. It was all right, no problem at all.
You can't wait for the next one?
Yeah.
When the soldiers first went in 1969, the IRA barely existed. But soon it was recruiting the young and giving them arms. Inevitably, there were clashes with the troops, and by 1970, the honeymoon with the Catholics was over.
In '69, we were welcomed as the saviours, and in 1971, we appeared to be the oppressors.
And people were trying to kill you?
They were, yes, ultimately, yes. Yes.
The army was now seen as the enemy.
What brought it very clearly home to all of us in the battalion was the shooting of Corporal Bankier, which I think happened in the late spring, not very long after we'd arrived. And because everybody knew him, he was a very, very popular man in the battalion who was well known across the battalion. And suddenly there was this incident, and his patrol was ambushed in the markets. And hey presto, the word went round the battalion, Bob Bank has been shot dead. And I think that really brought everybody up very short indeed. And you could probably judge that battalion's sharpening up from that particular moment. Everyone went round with pretty long faces saying, right, okay, now we know where we are.
As the violence escalated, the British government authorised drastic action.
I have therefore decided, after weighing all the relevant considerations, to exercise, where necessary, the powers of detention and internment vested in me as Minister of Home Affairs.
But the violence grew worse. Internment didn't break the IRA, but turned even more of the Catholic population against the soldiers who'd taken away their fathers and sons. On the day of internment, Belfast exploded with 100 houses ablaze. The Catholic areas erupted in anger. Jamie Daniel and his platoon were caught in the middle.
Somebody had said to me, quick, quick, I think I've seen something over there, and they pointed actually up towards the end of Albert Street, and I got hold of my binoculars and I was looking through them when the best way I think I can describe it is it's like a little bit like being kicked by a horse when you're extremely certain that there isn't a horse standing behind you. It's a fairly serious shock. And I was picked up and thrown about 4 or 5 feet and sort of landed on the ground on my back.
Where were you shot?
I was shot through the right arm and the chest. The bullet went, because I was doing that, it went in here and then went through the middle, pretty much.
Do you think of anything when it happened?
Yes, you think, okay, I've been shot, that's obviously what's happened to me. The fact that I'm thinking that is probably good news. I wonder where I've been shot, because you don't feel anything, there's no pain. Time passes incredibly slowly, and my initial reaction was, why isn't anybody doing something about it? And I did then hear fire being returned by my platoon, and I could discern that that was what it was, because it was coming from all around me. And I thought, oh, well, that's good. Somebody's doing something about that, that's great. And then I thought, well, why isn't someone doing something about me? And this can only have been a matter of 2 to 3 seconds going through. And then, of course, everybody did come and do something, and there were endless faces and bandages, and they brought some pigs up and formed a sort of barricade around me, because the rioting promptly came quite a lot closer. There was a serious amount of cheering from the crowd at the end of Albert Street when this happened. And
they knew you'd been shot?
Yes, I think they could see that I'd been shot, because there was the one single shot at the time.
As the rioting raged, an ambulance rushed Jamie Daniel to hospital.
And on my left, in the next bed, was a guy who, from his appearance, quite plainly wasn't in the army. He had very long hair, and I didn't actually recognize him, but he wasn't in the British Army, and he was also full of holes. We didn't actually converse a great deal, because I don't think either of us were up to it, but I then had a visit from quite a large quantity of my platoon who came up to see me and to see the guy that was in the bed opposite. And inevitably there was a little bit of overspill into the sort of next bed space, and this chap was having a visit as well from his mum and dad and his fiancée and whatever. And a certain amount of minor friction went on when one of my NCOs sort of leant his rifle against the end of this chap's bed, and a little bit of aggravation, and there was a hurried entrance by the sister that was in charge of the ward, and a flurry of shouted insults, and I was instantly moved downstairs into a woman's ward.
5 velocity shots were fired from Upper Meadow Street down to Meadow Street. Over.
Gun battles became part of the daily routine, but the IRA took its casualties too. This corporal, whose identity we've concealed, is a sniping instructor with another Green Jacket battalion. During one tour, he was hiding in a roof, watching the street through a slit in the tiles. Suddenly, he spotted 3 armed men. There was no room to move until his colleague solved the problem.
He just put his feet through the roof, and we knocked a big hole about 6 foot square. The whole roof went. I think I got more slate than the people that was down below would have got. And there was just me and him sitting in this big hole in the roof. Very, very, very exposed. So I got the first shot in.
Did you kill anybody?
Yeah, there was 2, killed both of them. But the driver I killed, who died later in hospital, but the passenger had got out of the car, and whether he saw me or obviously the company had been forewarned and they were out on the ground and they'd obviously heard the shooting. He then let a burst go up the road. So I was on site and I could remember aim high right, so I fired and dropped him dead.
Did you issue a warning?
No, it was too far away. It was about 175 yards away.
Shouldn't you have issued a warning before you opened fire?
I should have done, yeah. But because they were in a van and driving away with their weapons pointing at me, I was quite expecting to get, you know, a few shots back in return. So really I fired in self-defense.
Were they members of the IRA, the two men that you killed?
When we got down to the van, I recognised the driver straight away because he was one of the top players. The co-pilot, or his passenger, was led on the floor with an Armalite tied to his wrist. And me and the guy were arguing about who he was. He said it was so-and-so, and I said, no, it's not. So we got out our wanted posters, a little booklet that we carried with players' photographs in it. Looked at it, he said, that's him. And he said, look, the shape of the face, the ears, and et cetera, et cetera. I said, yeah, that's him. And then that was it.
What was your reaction when you realised that you had shot dead 2 IRA men?
Nothing really. I mean, that doesn't sound sort of big-headed at all. It was, I suppose it was sort of like the adrenaline was still flowing through the body after all the excitement. Not that I was excited, but, you know, sort of the shock, et cetera, et cetera. Actually getting down there and seeing a dead body, you know, blood and guts everywhere, not guts, but blood everywhere. And there was this guy led on the front seat with a big hole in the back of his head, and he had a sucking wound to the chest. And we sent the report over there, the driver is so-and-so, the body on the ground belongs to so-and-so. And then you could hear in the background a big scream, so a big hooray.
The death toll mounted on both sides, and by the mid-70s, 250 soldiers had been killed, a number of them greenjackets. For many soldiers, in the early days of the Troubles, the battle for hearts and minds was a joke. Frustration and anger grew as they saw their friends shot dead by men whose names and faces they knew, but whose guilt was difficult to prove. The players, as they're euphemistically called. When you used to meet people in the street that you believed to be IRA men, how did you treat them?
Well, we used to give them a hard time.
How?
Just by carrying out a P-check, asking where they lived. We knew exactly who they were.
P-check?
Yeah, personality check. Just come up on the radio, Mr. So-and-so address. Then it'd go through the filing system. Yeah, that's him. Let him go, etc., etc. And then in those days, you used to have the stress position. You know, hands up against the wall, spread your legs. And if we knew they were players, then they used to get the legs kicked away and they used to slide down the wall on their nose or... We'd keep them in a stress position for 10, 15 minutes. I don't know if you ever put your hands up against the wall with your legs spread, but it tends to wake after about 3 or 4 minutes. Or another thing we used to do was we used to spread them on the wall, and then we used to sit underneath them, because obviously if you would stop somebody, you're static, so therefore you're an easy target. So we used to spread them, and we used to squat underneath them so that they would cover us from anybody who wanted to take a shot at us. The rest of the brick would be sort of spread around in cover, but you, the guy with the radio, you're alone with the guy that you're talking to. And if somebody decided that they want to have a shot at you, or he was there for a specific purpose, to draw you into sort of like a trap or an ambush, then we used to just sort of get underneath them. That used to put them off a lot as well. They never used to like that.
As the years rolled by, the number of shootouts diminished, but the army could never relax. In 1982, the Green Jackets were in Belfast again. They had an observation post in one of the tower blocks in the Divis Flats. There were 2 days to go.
We'd had a good tour, and the IRA have a nasty habit of saying hello and saying goodbye. But things were going well. We was on the rundown period. And say I was up the tower, just carrying on as normal, and we heard it. Automatic fire. Travels all over the city, you know, bounces off every wall. You can't really pin it down to where it comes from.
The gunfire came from Crocus Street.
I seem to remember I was actually laid on my bed and I heard a burst of fire because they used an M60 machine gun in down the centre of what was in fact a fairly crowded street. There were a lot of people on the street. There were children on the street. But I think they used the machine gun to cover their escape, and they fired about 50 rounds from it. And that's what I actually heard. So I got up and moved down into the corridor, and so I think I stood outside the ops room, and the indications were that something big had happened.
When I eventually got round there, a few seconds later, there's not a lot you can actually do to people with their brains on the floor. We tried to patch up the one that was still alive, but there was an ambulance guy there who was probably better qualified than I was to actually do whatever it was. He had a go. We then went back to try and sort out the firing point.
The trouble is, being sat up there, there's not a lot you can do about it. We just sat up there, and then all the kids are running down below in the flats themselves, you know, shouting 3-0, 3-0, all this sort of stuff.
3-0?
Yeah, and they got 3 of us, and we never got one of them back. It's something you just got to put up with. Nothing we could do. It's just sickening to know what happened.
The people who were directly involved were pretty well choked up about it. The platoon sergeant of that platoon was upset. The guy in command had reacted very, very well indeed. I saw him as he came in, and he was shocked, but his training had carried him through. And most of the company were saddened, very saddened by it.
3 soldiers are shot dead in Belfast, victims of an IRA ambush.
The shots which killed the 3 soldiers came from this terrace in West Belfast. 5 IRA gunmen took over a house last night, and they held hostage an 81-year-old woman, her son, and her daughter-in-law. This morning, as 2 Army Land Rover patrols drove up Crocus Street, the gunmen sprayed them with a heavy-caliber M60 machine gun. 2 of the soldiers...
I was listening to the news. It was the Thursday. 3 soldiers killed in West Belfast, and I just knew that my son was one of them. And people keep telling me, don't be silly, you know, it's hundreds of soldiers there. But I just knew for sure that he was one of them. And I think I'd prepared myself by the time the police came to tell me. I think I was ready to hear it, the actual words in a way, although it didn't come as any less of a shock. It's the unthinkable thing. You know in your mind that it could happen, but you shut it out because it is so unthinkable. And the unthinkable happened. And I've often thought about it since, you know, how the hell did I get through it? And I think because I had 2 other children, well, if they see me in a state of collapse, how are they going to cope? I've got to carry on. I've got to be strong. And I think also for the soldiers as well. They went to all 3 funerals, and I wondered how they were feeling. If they see me being strong, perhaps they will be too.
Of course you want to get your own back. If you see somebody that you know killed, I mean, I think you'd be a liar if you say, oh, no, you don't want to get your own back.
You just feel like getting hold of the first person who walks past you, you know, and just pulling his head off, you know. Obviously, you can't do it. There's other ways to get your revenge, other ways. You've got the legal system on your side for a start. You can go out there and you can look for them, find them, nick them, get the coppers to deal with them, lock them away. In some ways, locking them away is better than shooting them. You shoot them, they're martyrs. You lock them away, they're just vegetating for years and years in the maze or Cromlin Road or whatever. But you do want revenge, you know, especially if you knew the lads like we did. You know, you knew the lads. Just nothing you can do at the time.
The mortar platoon's base sits in the middle of open country.
The river and the road run through the centre of the valley. You all know it. If you look out, you can see the high ground up here, and in fact, extremely good farmland in this area. The extremely good farmland is loyalist, mostly Protestant, and not terribly surprising. Down here and over towards the border, we're talking about poor farmland, and historically, or for historical reasons, that is nationalist, and it's mostly Catholic, and let's be honest about that. Look at the whole area. About 15,000 people thereabouts live in the area. 15,000 odd. You saw in against the board the number of people we've actually got an interest in. Very, very few. 99.9% of the people you come across any day of the week are ordinary citizens who may or may not be pleased to see you. If they're loyalists, they're glad to see you because you represent the continuation of the British government's will to be here. If they're nationalists, they're not particularly fond of seeing you there, but really, if they're an ordinary guy who thinks that he should be part of the South, he's not that bothered about you either. Now, you can say, sit back there and say, yeah, but what about that nasty fellow that you were told about a couple of minutes ago? So what? What do you gain by having a confrontation? The only people that gain are them, because it goes into the press, and it's just something else to put into the press to show the SF in a bad light. So when you know you're coming up to a known player, it's Mr. So-and-so. The fact that you know his first name, nothing to do with it. Every time you meet him, it's Mr. Smith or Mr. Brown. Got that? Okay.
It can be very frustrating when you're there and you're probably looking at someone that you know has probably killed somebody and you're calling him sir, you know.
You call him sir? You know he's
comment.
killed someone? Think he's killed someone?
You just carry on as you're trained. Politeness, so forth and so on. And I'll call him sir.
Must be hard.
Very hard. You know, very hard indeed.
But you do it?
Yeah. You know you don't mean it. I mean, sir's only a word, innit? So, you don't mean it.
Since 1969 and the days of tea and buns, the regiment has lost 40 men, the army over 400. Today's Green Jackets find themselves fighting a guerrilla war in part of the United Kingdom, and there seems no end to it. But however intensive the training, a patrol is still visible and vulnerable, its main concern to stay alive on the IRA's home ground.
It is tense, very tense in some areas, especially the further south that we get, in the forestry blocks on the border, where it's very easy for them to have shoots done on a, say, a telephone call. Say somebody's watching you moving around a certain area, and they're with the phone, their contacts. It would be very easy for them to set up a shoot. And obviously, if you set patterns down on the border, i.e. patrol after patrol after patrol goes in the same area and uses the same tracks and the same fields, or I should say the same crossing points, then there's the likelihood of them leaving a nice little package for you. If it's very boggy in one area and dry in another, then soldiers are just human. They'd rather stay dry if they're going on for 2 or 3 days. And that's how people get blown up. So you've got to take it from a survival point of view and go anywhere and not just look for the driest points.
Okay, listening lads, keep the weapon pointing into the sand. Unload, safety catch, change EUR, magazine off.
During their tour, riflemen live in constant danger, but only a few see action and have the chance to open fire.
Clear, East Springs.
This is now your 5th tour. How many rounds have you fired in those 5 tours?
6 rounds.
6 rounds?
6 rounds on one engagement. That's it.
People will be surprised at that.
I imagine people will be, because to watch the news in England, you think that this was like Dodge City, but it is not. And many soldiers will serve repeated tours here and never so much as cock their weapons, much less actually fire around. That is, I'm probably one of, I'm probably one of the few in the battalion who actually fired, compared to, the majority won't have done.
Did you hit anybody?
No, I don't believe so. It was in a border area, and it was we thought we had where the fire was coming from, and we just put a quick few rounds down, and that was essentially it. It was over in a matter of seconds.
5 tours, 6 rounds.
No hits.
Back at base, encased in their concrete bunker, the mortar platoon's routine can be mind-bendingly boring.
This is what it's all about.
If you didn't get annoyed with each other and get frustrated over here, I mean, you just wouldn't be human, I think, really. I mean, a lot of times you have to bite your lip and go somewhere, or you just end up, you know, punching each other half the time.
Years ago, before most of the mortar platoon were born, soldiers would date the local Catholic girls, go to a dance, and go out for a drink.
Most of the time you're knackered all the time, so you just go to sleep, try and get as much sleep as you can, and then up for the next patrol. And that goes on, what, 4 months?
Isn't there anything else to do besides watch the telly?
Except for the sauna. That's it, really. There's nothing else to do. You don't get much social life whatsoever.
Can't you go out? Can't you go off the base?
No. I mean, it's too dangerous.
Too dangerous?
Yeah.
Can't you go down the local pub?
No. We wish we could, but we can't.
Meals punctuate the tedium, but the soldiers can never relax.
Another swarm again, then.
The walls now being built to ward off IRA mortars are a visible sign of a worsening situation, as is the invisible wall that now separates the army and the Catholic community. 2 months before the Green Jackets arrived, the IRA tried to mortar the base. The mortars went wide. The base is situated half a mile outside the village of Clocher, a community that is roughly 50% Catholic and 50% Protestant. Here, the mortar platoon feels as isolated as it does in its concrete bunker.
Obviously, walking down the street, you don't know what someone's religion is, but the areas, I mean, sometimes, like in Catholic areas, whatever, you can be sort of mourning to someone, like old women. I mean, I've had it before, someone that looks like me nan, say good morning to them, and they just totally blank you, walk straight past you, sort of thing. But as far as I'm concerned, they're just another person. And, you know, I'm just passing the time of day, and if they don't want to do that, it does get annoying and frustrating, but...
Can you feel the hostility in some areas?
So, yeah, sometimes. You can be walking down the street and then you'll turn off somewhere and surroundings, whatever, and you think, yeah, this is a Catholic or a dodgy area, sort of thing, an extreme area. And just by the way even the kids walk past or whatever, you can soon tell. I think the main frustrating part is with these people, like the civilians here. You get frustrated with them, but you don't have the chance to challenge them. When they blank you, walk past you, whatever, been a few boys spat at and all that, you can't say, wait, why are you doing that? And sort of have a go at them or sort them out, because that will get blown out of proportion. The only people you can take your frustration out on is the people you live with and the people that you're working with.
When we do the permanent vehicle checkpoints, went onto the school bus, and there were about, I think it was 13, 14-year-olds, and went along, you know, see if there was anything where the seats are. Strolled along and seen them all getting out their apples and bits of sandwiches and all this out of the sandwich box, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get it when I walk down the end of the bus. I walked down, it was everything came at me, and it was, you know, kids spitting at you, and there's even the infants bus when they came past. They all kind of Brit this and Brit that, and throwing bottles at, dodging a bottle.
They spat at you, did
they? Yeah, out the window, and I went. I can understand why they don't like us being over here. I mean, they class us as foreigners, and I mean, I certainly wouldn't like foreigners patrolling our streets. You know, someone from Portugal or something coming around, strolling around our streets, stopping me all the time. I mean, get on my nerves after 20 years. I mean, you can, I don't know, you can't blame them for getting a bit anti with us sometimes, but...
Do you feel a foreigner here, as an Englishman?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, I feel like a foreigner.
I don't accept that we are seen as foreign soldiers. I don't regard myself as being in a foreign country. We're in part of the United Kingdom, keeping the law in this part of the United Kingdom, and allowing these people to go about their daily business without interference from terrorists.
Major Daniel speaks as a veteran of 1969. 20 years ago, you and other Green Jackets of the time were given buns and cups of tea by the Catholic community.
Yes.
That doesn't happen anymore. Has the battle for hearts and minds been lost?
No, certainly not. The battle for hearts and minds, it doesn't just target itself onto one element of the community. The battle for hearts and minds goes on in the grand scale, wherever you see soldiers and police today.
But the hearts and minds that you've got to win are the hearts and minds of those people who support and give cover to the IRA.
Yes, who are a remarkably small element to the Republican community, and maybe their hearts and minds are lost forever.
Does that mean that then you have stopped trying to win over those hearts and minds?
Not at all. They're quite difficult to actually identify and find, their particular hearts and minds, and we don't necessarily stumble across them every 5 minutes.
No, but when a busload of schoolchildren spits at riflemen, or spit at riflemen, you can identify where the problem's from.
Of course you can, of course you can, and it's not something that we are going to change in a matter of 4 months. It's something that the long-term, deep-felt feelings are going to change that, and I don't think that is, in fact, going to be altered by us overnight.
But you've been here for 20 years.
Yes, we have, and we're still working at it.
And still get spat at.
Yes, it still happens. We're still going to work at it.
How long have you got to go in the army?
I've got 6.5 years left to finish. That's for my 22 years.
Do you see an end to this?
Not in my time, mate. I don't see an end to it in my time. I'll probably be back out here a couple of more times before I go out of the army.
Your children's time?
I've got a boy of 5, and I reckon if he joins up after me, it wouldn't surprise me if he was out here as well then.
Let's go.
Right, guys, what changes it?
In June, the mortar platoon's 4-month tour was over. There are no tears at saying goodbye. The Scots Guards take over the bunks. Out on the ground, the newcomers are shown the lie of the land by the colour sergeant of the mortar platoon. The Scots Guards aren't inheriting territory that Green Jackets have taken, only a situation they have contained. For 4 months, the battalion kept up the pressure and restricted the IRA's freedom to operate. In Northern Ireland terms, this is seen as success.
I'm not getting through. We'll do it when we come back down.
The Green Jackets took no casualties and fired not a single shot. What do you think of your enemy?
Well, on the individual basis, I think most of us are contemptuous of them. When you've met them, a lot of them are just very, very sick people. However, as an organisation, I think we all have, any British soldier worth his salt has a healthy respect for what they're capable of. They are certainly a very durable probably the best terrorist organisation in the world. Life is made very easy for them in many ways. The law, essentially, they work, they make the law work for them. And this is all part and parcel of a democratic society. But they are certainly very, very professional, very clever people who know what they're doing.
Technically, they're very good. Their planning is excellent. They give the army to run around. They're very good. But they've improved greatly over the years. Well, they prepared for their long war, and it's paying off for them.
Is it a war?
I think it's got to be a war in some ways. It's a limited war. Anything where people die or get killed, excuse me, or get blown up, then it's a war. It is a war. But I don't think there'll be an end to it in a military war sense. It's something we'll live with.
I mean, it'll end one day. I mean, Vietnam ended one day, but a lot of people died for that, you know, sort of what they've got now. And it'd be no different anyway, even if they did win. it would probably be worse. And or it would probably end up, if we did leave, then the Protestants would go against the Catholics like they did in '69. But now both sides have got bombs and bullets anyway, so there'd be one hell of a fight between the Catholics and the Protestants, and we'd probably have to go back in again to stop them killing each other like they did in Beirut.
Is it worth it?
Of course it's worth it. If by us being here, if Mrs. Smith can take her kids to school and then go shopping and then come home, sit in front of the fire and wait for her kids to come home and then her husband, then we've achieved something, haven't we? We are doing something. So therefore we have got to be prepared to accept that.
The price is over 400 soldiers, 40 green jackets dead in 20 years?
Yeah, it is. It's a heavy price to pay. It is a heavy price to pay. But they are taking the same amount of casualties, aren't they? Nobody's ever worked out how many of the other side have been killed.
They've got sons who'll carry on.
Exactly. But so then again, the army's a big, you know, people say it's a big firm. The army's prepared now. It's, you know, we've just got to put up with it. We've got to carry on. If we pull out now, what will we have achieved? That'll be 20 years and 400 people for nothing. Wouldn't it? And if you're prepared to give away 400 lives for no aim whatsoever, then what have you achieved? Then you've achieved nothing. And then he's won. He's won the day.
You won't let him do that?
You can't let him do it. You can't.
I write to quite a few of the lads who served with Nick, and it's like I lost one son and gained 5 or 6, and they're there. You know, it's just a great help to know that I'm not alone. And it's just like a family. Because I know that they would look after me, and I care about them and they care about me. And I know he won't be forgotten, I know that. They'll never forget him.
This BBC book, based on the series and written by Peter Taylor, contains additional material and captures the vivid experiences of those families at war.